Okay, we're back. So I just want to break it up so I could maybe spend a little more time and give you guys a small break. Give me a break. So we're continuing our talk with the electrical activity, electrical events of the heart. And so one of the things that you do to measure that is use what's called electrocardiography. Electrocardiography. And so you'll hear that either as ECG or EKG. They mean the same thing. In English, the cardio is with a C, and in German, cardio is with a K. So EKG is the German version. However, you will hear a lot of Americans use EKG because there is another measurement that people will do called an EEG, which is an electroencephalogram, which is measuring brain activity. And so EEG and ECG kind of sound the same. So you'll hear EKG all the time. Some people are kind of funny about it, but it's okay if you say EKG. And so it's electrocardiogram, and it is a composite of all the electrical activity that's going on in the heart. So when you do a EKG, you put electrodes that are measuring electrical activity all over the chest. So you've got your body, okay, and here's your heart, and so you're going to put these electrodes. They're going to be attached to a machine, and it can record and measure the electrical activity that's inside the heart. That's what it's doing. And so when it measures this, when you look at an EKG, you probably have seen it looks, that's what you see. And you probably thought, oh, it's measuring the heartbeat. Well, it is, because every time you see a particular pattern on an EKG, that's a heartbeat. But what you're actually looking at are different waves. And so you have three separate waves of an EKG that you're looking for, and they each mean something in particular. You have a P wave, which is depolarization of the SA node. Remember, that's in the atria, in the right atrium. You have the QRS complex, that's ventricular depolarization, and you have the T wave, which is ventricular repolarization. So you're actually measuring that. So and you're going to get this very distinct pattern. And so the reason you do that, if when you know what a normal EKG looks like, if it starts to look maybe different or odd, then you can go, okay, we're missing one or more of these waves, and that tells me where the problem is, so I can kind of guess on what part of the heart is messed up. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So here is the P wave, okay, and then this is going to be the QRS complex, okay, and then you have the T wave. So that's what a normal EKG would look like. So what you're measuring, you've got your electrical activity, your electrical electrodes on the chest, and you're measuring electricity as it's moving through the heart. So the first thing you pick up is this small wave, and that is the SA node depolarizing and causing the atria to depolarize. So you see a wave of depolarization as it spreads through the atrium. All right? Remember, now you're going to have a little bit of a pause here because it's got to get to that AV node and then get to the ventricles. So you have this pause, then the ventricles depolarize, okay? Well, the ventricles need to contract, and you want them to fully contract before they relax. So you have another pause, and then the ventricles relax. And so you're picking up the ventricular repolarization, and now the ventricles will actually relax, and they can be refilled. Now what you're not seeing is atrial repolarization. Atrial repolarization is actually occurring right here, but it's so small compared to the size of the ventricular depolarization that the ventricular depolarization kind of masks it. So it's there, you just can't see it. So to let you kind of see this visually on how all of this is tying together, I've kind of got this color coordinated, and this is from your textbook, and it's really kind of a cool picture to show you how this is working. So the yellow is going to be depolarization, the red is repolarization. So as the SA node is depolarizing and that wave of depolarization is spreading through the atria, you pick up the P wave, okay, atrial depolarization, all right? Now the full atria will be depolarized, all right, and now that AV node is stopping everything, pausing it just a second before it carries it to the ventricle. Here's the pause. So the atria depolarizing, they're going to start to contract and force that blood down into the ventricles, so the ventricles are fully loaded. All right, now that electrical wave is going to pass down the bundles, through the bundle branches, and out through the Purkinje fibers, and they're going to go down and around. And so as that electrical activity is going down and around, the electrodes, that's why it has this funny shape like that. It's kind of picking that electrical activity coming toward it and away from it, is what you're actually seeing. So the electrical activity goes down and around, and that's the wave of ventricular depolarization. And it begins at the apex and then moves, back that way, because the heart, remember, it beats like that. Okay, so it depolarizes first here so that the heart will beat like that. So now the entire ventricle is depolarized. You've got that pause because now you need the heart to contract. All right, so you need it to actually physically contract. And then it's going to start to repolarize, and the repolarization is going to spread from the apex up, and that is going to be your T wave. Okay, and as that ventricle completely repolarizes, there's a pause so that it can now, the heart can fill back up with blood. And here's your pause there. All right, we're going to do another video where we're actually going to tie everything together. So I'm going to show you, we're going to talk about how the blood is flowing and how the depolarization waves are moving, how the EKG is flowing, and we're also going to tie in heart sounds. So we're going to put all of this together in another video. So, but right now we're just going to talk about the EKG. So if you did an EKG, normally what normal sinus rhythm is going to be that PQRST. So here's a P right here, QRST, PQRST, PQRST, PQRST. So from a P to a P, that's a heartbeat. Okay, so PQRST, that's the heartbeat. PQRST, heartbeat. So when you're measuring someone's heart rate, you can just count the number of QRST. So there's one, there's one, there's one. That's the heart rate. All right, so that's one way of measuring heart rate. Now, if you're looking at it to figure out what's wrong with the electrical conduction system of the heart, you want to look and see if some of the waves may be missing. So this is one where the SA node is non-functional. Right, so the SA node caused the P wave. So look, there's no P wave. It's nothing QRST, nothing QRST. That lets me know that there's no SA node that's functioning. You can also see the heartbeats are further apart. It's a slower heart rate. This is only beating at 40 to 60 beats a minute. This one over here is around 75. Now I might have heart block, what's called second degree heart block, which means it's not full heart block. Some of the P waves are getting through, but not all of them. So there's some of the SA node is getting to the AV node, but not everything. So here's one where I've got P, QRST. P, there's no QRST, so it didn't get through. Okay, so let's do P, QRST. P, no QRST, so it didn't get through. That shows me that there's some block at the AV node. Okay, something's not getting through there because you're seeing more P waves than you do QRS waves. Ventricular fibrillation, this is when you get this. Okay, so it's a grossly irregular EKG, and this is what you see when someone is experiencing a heart attack. So this is when you would get the paddles and you would shock the heart and try to get them back into normal sinus rhythm. So this is going to be fatal. Okay, so ventricular fibrillation would be a fatal condition. All right, I think that's all for this video. So we'll continue in the future videos talking about the cardiac cycle. We're going to talk about heart sounds and a lot more to come. And then we're going to talk about blood pressure. So we've got a lot to talk about. All right, see you later. Thanks a lot.